Hey guys, it's Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up. In the month of June, I read a total of 6 books, and to be honest, it was an okay reading month for me. I read a lot of material that I didn't really care for, and then I read 2 books that I really loved. I had a little bit of a slump, and I think I'm getting out of it. I don't know. It's just, yeah. And sorry that I look kind of like a mess right now, but I just got home from work, and I need to film this today, so let's just jump right into it.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow.
So the first book I read this month was Unrivaled by Alison Noel. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I liked it, but I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. This book is basically about these 3 teenagers who are in Hollywood and they're competing or promoting these clubs to, like, they're like nightclubs. And they're promoting it to like people their age and trying to get the teen celebrities to like come to their nightclubs and stuff. And I thought it was like really interesting. I didn't really care for like any of the characters though. I thought they were all very forgettable. I don't remember any of their names. I think the reason why a lot of people are disliking this book so much is because this book is not what it claims it is. Like in the beginning of this, it says that this is the first book in a suspense thriller trilogy. And to be honest, this book mostly felt like a contemporary up until the last 50 pages where it started getting a more like thriller vibe. And like if you read the description of the book, it kind of gives away a huge spoiler, like I think that takes place like in the last 50 pages of the book. I mean, I don't know, I feel like this book is just being promoted and advertised in the wrong way, and that's why people are reacting negatively to it, because they go into this expecting a thriller and it's really not. It's mostly a contemporary with some romance and some blackmail and scandal. It's okay. I mean, I really liked it because I enjoyed the Hollywood atmosphere and I liked the like cutthroat blackmail, you know, competition between these 3 characters that takes place in this. But other than that, the story was just okay, and I doubt I'll be picking up the next book in this trilogy. The second book I read was an audiobook, and that was Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. This is my second time reading a Sarah Dessen book, and this book I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I just really didn't like it that much. I thought it was kind of a boring story overall. Just like nothing happens, I feel like. Like the characters are just so normal that like nothing really happens in the story. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I mean this book just follows this girl named Sydney, and she has a kind of romance with this guy Mac, even though the romance is very short-lived. I feel like this book mostly is about friendship and family, which is good. I mean the writing was good, but I just couldn't connect. I don't know what it is. I just found the story to be very slow and boring, and I always felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. And Sydney's mom is like the biggest bitch. Oh my god, I could not stand her while reading this book. She was so just like controlling and manipulative and like, oh god, I hate parents like that. But I don't know, this book was okay. I mean, at the end of the day, I just was like, I don't know. I'm not gonna remember it in like a year, so. Right, the third book I read this month was The Fire Between High and Low by Brittany C. Cherry. And if you didn't know, Brittany C. Cherry is the author of Loving Mr. Daniels, which was one of my favorite books. Personally think she's one of my favorite authors. Like her writing style is beautiful and it makes me cry and it's wonderful. This one just didn't really do it for me. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Absolutely hated the beginning of it. The first 100 pages were so incredibly rushed and just like all these things were happening so quickly. It gave you no time to get attached to the characters, and it was all just like I couldn't connect to anything. I didn't like either of the characters very much, and it like literally so much happened. A few years go by within the span of like 100 pages. It's so fast. There's so many plot twists being thrown at you like every minute, which is usually a good thing, but like if I need to get to know these characters before I can like feel for them or care that anything is happening to them, you know? The second half of the book, in part 2, it started to get a lot better and I started to understand the characters more and get to know them better. So the writing did get better, but because the beginning was so like rushed, it just kind of left me with a bad impression overall of the book. I'm just like really shocked because like Brittany C. Cherry's writing is usually so fluid and beautiful and lyrical, you know, and like this one was towards the end, but the beginning it just felt like a completely different author. Like I was so shocked. I mean, I'm still gonna read anything that she writes because I do think she's an incredible writer, but there was just something going on with that first beginning that I did not enjoy. Right, the next book I read this month was Him by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars and I freaking loved it. And this book is basically a new adult LGBT contemporary romance, and it's fantastic. It's a male-male romance between these two hockey players. Names are Wes and Jamie, and they haven't seen each other in years. Like, they used to go to hockey camp together over the summers when they were growing up, and now they're both going to be coming up into the NHL, like the National Hockey League. And so they are going to be seeing each other again for the first time in like 4 years, I want to say. And it's like all this intense like tension between them, you know. It's like Noah and Allie seeing each other again. It's like, whoa. The thing is that Wes is like out of the closet gay, and he's very comfortable with who he is, but Jamie is straight, or so he says. This book just has so many great things, because not only do I love hockey, but I love like forbidden romance, like, and it's kind of forbidden just because they're two hockey players, and in the world of hockey, to be gay, it's kind of like a big deal. I just thought that that was really interesting, and I freaking adored their relationship. Like, they were so freaking cute together, and I love Jamie. I love that he's such a like California boy, like so relatable. All of their scenes together were just so like written so wonderful, and their humor with each other was freaking hilarious. There were so many times I was like dying because of how funny this book was, and honestly, it's probably like one of my favorite male romance novels that I've ever read. Like, I loved it. It was so cute. Even if you don't like hockey, I would still recommend giving this a chance, because it's such a cute new adult romance, and I feel like really good new adult romance books are like my favorite kind of books if you can find the gems in that crazy genre. But this one was so good. Definitely recommend checking it out. And the next book I read was Missing You by Harlan Coben, and I listened to the audiobook for this one actually, but I do own a physical copy, and this was the first Harlan Coben book that I've ever read, and unfortunately I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. I just really didn't enjoy it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the narrator on the audiobook was really dull and like boring, and I didn't like Kat as a main character. It's about this like detective going back and trying to find her like first love on the internet. She was like engaged to this guy when she was 22, and now it's like 20 years later and she's like 40, and she sees him on this dating website, and she goes to like reach out to him to talk to him, and then there's something like fishy going on, like he doesn't really remember her, and so she starts to like question if it's really him, and like this whole thing starts going on. And I just didn't really care about any of the characters, and I didn't like any of the characters, and I couldn't care less what was gonna happen to them. I didn't even finish it. I only got about halfway through the audiobook, and I couldn't connect to it. I didn't really like it, and yeah. And the last book I read this month was Us by Sarina Bowen Elle Kennedy, and this book is the sequel to Him. Loved this book almost just as much as the first one. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars as well. And to be honest, I'm not sure which of the 2 books are my favorite so far in this series, but this one was so fantastic. It takes place like 5 months after the first book has finished, and Jamie and Wes are like in the relationship phase of their relationship, you know, where it's not always super easy keeping their relationship hidden from the NHL. I just really I can't express enough how much I love these characters. But this one was really interesting because they introduced this new character named Blake, which is a hockey player on Wes's team. He moves into the same building as them, so it's like even more funny because Blake is like always interrupting them, but he just thinks that they're like roommates, right? So like he doesn't know that they're actually like together. And Blake's character in general was like really great. I loved his character. He was really funny, and I loved how he called Jamie J-Bomb. This series is just so cute. Like, I can't get enough of their romance, and there was like this one conflict that took place during this book that I thought was a little like random and kind of like out of place, but other than that, I just think it was so cute, and the ending just gave me all the feels, and like I can't wait for the next book in this series. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's been announced, and that's all that matters to me. Those are all of the books that I've read this month. Overall, it was okay. I mean, I read Him and Us, which were 2 books that I really loved. It just hit me right in the feels, but other than that, everything else I read was just kind of mediocre, and I don't know if that's due to the fact that last month I read It Ends With Us, and it was the best book ever. Like, I finally received the physical copy in the mail, and I tabbed the hell out of it, and there's like highlighting on almost every single page, and like this was honestly one of the best books I've ever read, and I can't shake it, you know, I can't. I can't. So thank you guys so much for watching as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.